Picture a man lying on a stone mat beside a pool of water in Jerusalem. He has been there for 38 years. 38 years of watching other people get healed. 38 years of being too slow, too weak, too forgotten to make it into the water first. The colonnades above him are full of blind people, lame people, people whose bodies have stopped working in ways that have no name. And then a man walks up a man nobody in that crowd has asked to come, and he looks down at the one who has been there the longest. And he asks him a question. Not, do you need help? Not, let me heal you, a question. We will come back to that question. But not yet. Here is something that will stop you if you think about it long enough. Jesus of Nazareth, the man Christians call the Son of God, the man Josephus called a teacher of unusual wisdom, was asked 183 questions during his 3 years of public ministry. He directly answered fewer than 10 of them. Instead, he asked questions of his own. 307 of them, across the 4 Gospels. Scholars have counted. The number is not symbolic. It is simply what the record shows. Martin Copenhaver, a theologian who spent years cataloguing every question in the Gospels, put it plainly: Jesus is not primarily a teacher who gives answers. He is a teacher who asks questions. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. Stay with me. Because this changes everything about how you read the Gospels, and maybe everything about how you understand what God is doing when he seems silent in your own life. The philosopher Socrates, 4 centuries before Jesus was born, used the same method. He walked the streets of Athens asking questions designed to expose what his students did not know. The Socratic method, scholars call it. It is still taught in law schools today. But here is the difference. Socrates asked questions to expose ignorance. Jesus asked questions to expose the heart. Socrates wanted you to realize you did not know enough. Jesus wanted you to realize something far more uncomfortable, that you already knew exactly what you needed to know, and the only question was what you were going to do with it. The Jewish historian Josephus, writing in his Antiquities in the 1st century, notes that Jesus was known among his contemporaries as a teacher who posed questions rather than issued rulings. This was unusual. Rabbis in 1st century Judea were expected to give answers. That was the job. You came to a rabbi with a question about the law, about purity, about money, about marriage, and the rabbi gave you a ruling. That was the transaction. Jesus broke the transaction almost every time. The night the disciples nearly drowned is a good place to start. You know the scene. The Sea of Galilee, which is not really a sea but a freshwater lake ringed by hills that funnel the wind into sudden violent storms. The disciples are in a boat. Jesus is asleep in the stern, which tells you something about how tired he was because the boat is taking on water, and experienced fishermen are panicking, and he is still asleep. They wake him. They are terrified. Some of them have fished this lake their whole lives, and they believe they are about to die. Jesus stands up. He speaks to the wind and the waves. And they stop. Just like that. The water goes flat. The wind drops to nothing. And in the silence, in that impossible, sudden silence, after the roaring, Jesus turns to his disciples and asks them a question. Where is your faith? Not, I told you I would protect you. Not, don't you trust me yet? A question. 4 words in English. 3 in the Greek. And the disciples, who have just watched the laws of physics bend to a human voice, are more afraid after the miracle than they were during the storm. The text says they were terrified. They said to one another, "Who is this man?" Here is what most people miss. Jesus did not ask, "Where is your faith?" as a rebuke. He asked it as a mirror. He held the question up so they could see themselves, see the gap between what they believed about him and what they actually trusted him with when the water started rising. The question was not an accusation. It was an invitation to look. This is the pattern. This is what Jesus does, over and over, across 3 years and 307 questions. He holds up a mirror, and he asks you what you see. There is a moment in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 15, that you could argue is the hinge point of all of human history. Jesus and his disciples are in Caesarea Philippi, which is not a Jewish town. It is a Roman city built around a massive rock cliff, and carved into that cliff are shrines to at least 14 different gods. Pan, Zeus, the god of the emperor. The air there smells like incense and politics. And Jesus, standing in front of all those shrines, asks his disciples 2 questions back to back. The first is warm-up. Who do people say the Son of Man is? They answer easily: John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah. Safe answers. Other people's opinions. Then he asks the second question. But who do you say I am? The Greek word here is tis simply who. It is the most common opening of Jesus' questions across all four Gospels. Tis who. Not what. Not how. Not why. Who. Because the question Jesus keeps returning to, across every conversation and every miracle and every confrontation with religious leaders, is an identity question. Not what do you think about my teaching, who do you say I am? Peter answers. He says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus tells him that flesh and blood did not reveal that to him, his Father in heaven did. This is the confession that the entire Christian church is built on. And it came not because Jesus gave a lecture. It came because Jesus asked a question that made it impossible to stay in the middle. You cannot answer, who do you say I am, with a shrug. You cannot answer it with interesting teacher, or moral philosopher, or historical figure. The question collapses the neutral ground. It always has. It still does. If you have ever felt cornered by Jesus, if you have ever read the Gospels and felt like you could not just admire him from a safe distance, now you know why. It is the question. It was designed that way. Now watch what happens next. A blind beggar named Bartimaeus is sitting by the road outside Jericho. He hears that Jesus of Nazareth is passing. He starts shouting, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. The crowd tells him to be quiet. He shouts louder. Jesus stops. He tells the crowd to call the man forward. Bartimaeus throws off his cloak, his only real possession, the thing he uses to collect coins, and he runs to Jesus. And Jesus asks him a question. What do you want me to do for you? Read that slowly. This is the Son of God. This is the man who just calmed a storm with his voice, who raised a girl from the dead, who fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread. And he is standing in front of a blind beggar, a man whose need is completely, obviously, visibly apparent, and he is asking him what he wants. Why does Jesus ask Bartimaeus a question he already knows the answer to? Because Bartimaeus has to say it. He has to name it. He has to stand in front of the God of the universe and say out loud what he is hoping for. Not because Jesus needs the information. Because Bartimaeus needs to hear himself ask for it. There is something that happens in a human being when you stop hinting at your need and start naming it. Something that shifts. Something that opens. What do you want me to do for these things? Every question was a legal snare built to make Jesus either contradict Roman law or contradict Jewish law. Either answer was supposed to destroy him. Jesus never answered. Not once. Not directly. He answered their questions with questions of his own you. Bartimaeus says, Rabbi, let me recover my sight. And Jesus heals him. Not everyone who brought Jesus a question was looking for a mirror. The Pharisees came with questions designed as traps. Should we pay taxes to Caesar? If a woman marries 7 brothers, one after another, whose wife is she in the resurrection? By what authority do you do? When they asked about taxes, he asked whose face was on the coin. When they asked about the resurrection, he asked if they had read what God said to Moses at the burning bush. When they demanded his authority, he asked them about the baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men? And they froze. Because if they said from heaven, he would ask why they didn't believe John. If they said from men, the crowd would turn on them. They were caught in their own logic. We don't know, they said. Then neither will I tell you, Jesus said. He was not being evasive. He was doing something more precise. He was showing them and showing everyone watching that the question they were really avoiding was never about taxes or resurrection or authority. The question they were avoiding was the same question he always came back to. Who do you say I am? And they would not answer it. So he would not answer theirs. If this video is connecting something for you, if you have been reading the Gospels and something has been bothering you in a way you couldn't name, keep going. Read the questions. Look at who Jesus is asking and what he is asking them, and notice what happens when they answer. The questions are not random. They are a map. The man at Bethesda is still lying on his mat. 38 years. We are almost there. It is before sunrise on the first day of the week. A woman named Mary Magdalene is standing outside a tomb in a garden. The stone has been rolled away. The body she came to anoint is gone. She is weeping. The Greek word is klio, which means ugly, heaving, uncontrolled grief, not quiet tears. She is not sad. She is shattered. She had followed this man from Galilee. She had watched him die. And now, someone has taken even his body. Two angels appear inside the tomb. They ask her a question. "Woman, why are you weeping?" She tells them. She turns around. A man is standing in the garden. She assumes he is the gardener. He asks her the same question the angels just asked, and then a second one. "Woman, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for?" Two questions. Before he says her name. Before he reveals himself. Before the greatest moment in the Christian story breaks fully open, two questions. Why? He is risen. He knows who she is. He knows why she is crying. He knows that in 30 seconds her grief will become the most explosive joy any human being has ever felt. Why ask? Because she has to move through the questions to get to the answer. Because the questions are not a delay. The questions are the path. They are asking her to locate herself, to name her grief, to name what she is looking for, so that when the answer comes, it lands in a place she has prepared for it. When he speaks her name Mary, she is ready. She turns. She knows. One word from him, and she knows. Pay attention to this. The risen Christ's first words to a human being after his resurrection are not a proclamation. They are not a doctrinal statement. They are not, "I told you I would rise." They are two questions. Even after death and resurrection, the method does not change. He still asks. He still waits for you to look. And now, the man at Bethesda. He has been lying beside the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. The text in John chapter 5 says that an angel would occasionally stir the water, and whoever got in first was healed. 38 years of almost. 38 years of watching other people get there first. Jesus walks up to him, specifically to him, out of all the people in those colonnades, and he asks him a question. Do you want to be healed? The Greek word for want here is thelo. It means volitional desire, not casual preference. Do you will this? Is this something you are choosing? And the question sounds almost cruel when you read it fast. Of course he wants to be healed. He has been lying there for 38 years. But here is the part nobody tells you. 38 years is a long time. Long enough that the illness becomes identity. Long enough that you build your whole life, your routines, your relationships, your understanding of yourself around the limitation. Long enough that healing would mean becoming a different person entirely. A person with responsibilities. A person who can no longer simply wait. Jesus is not asking whether the man wants relief from pain. He is asking something far deeper. Do you want to be changed? Are you willing to become someone you have never been? Do you want to be well? The man does not answer yes. He explains why he cannot get into the water in time. He gives Jesus a reason the miracle is impossible. And Jesus heals him anyway. But he asked first. He always asks first. He does not force transformation. He does not override the will. He stands in front of the most broken person in the room, and he asks, do you want this? Do you want to be well? Because if you do, if you will name it, if you will own it, if you will say it out loud, then he will do what only he can do. 3 things to take with you. The first. Jesus asked questions because he respects your will. He does not override. He does not force. He does not heal without asking, change without inviting, reveal without giving you the choice to look away. Every question he ever asked was an act of respect, a God who will not make you want something you have not chosen to want. If you have ever felt like God is too quiet, too absent, too unwilling to just fix the thing that needs fixing, consider that he may be asking you a question first and waiting for you to answer it. The second. The question is not a detour. The question is the answer. When Jesus asked Mary why she was weeping, he was not delaying the resurrection announcement. He was preparing her to receive it. When he asked Bartimaeus what he wanted, he was not stalling. He was opening a door the man had to walk through himself. The thing you are waiting for God to hand you, the healing, the clarity, the direction, may already be waiting on the other side of a question you have been avoiding. The third. And this is the one that stays. Somewhere in the Gospels, in the storm or at the tomb or by the pool or on the road outside Jericho, there is a question with your name on it. Not in a vague, inspirational sense. In the specific, personal, uncomfortable sense that Jesus asked questions to particular people in particular moments of their particular lives. He is still asking. He asked the fishermen in the storm where their faith was. He asked the blind man what he wanted. He asked the woman at an empty tomb who she was looking for. And he asked a man who had been broken for 38 years whether he truly, volitionally, chose to be well. What is he asking you?